I want to get into the South here. And I'm going to get off on this rant, and then I'll be picking up your calls at the bottom of the hour. But I don't know if you saw this piece by Michael Lind in Politico. It's titled, How the South Skews America. You know, the United States has some pretty bad statistics. This is not from Michael Lind's piece. This is from an op-ed by Nick Kristof in the New York Times. But the United States, we rank 30th in life expectancy, 38th in saving children's lives, 55th in women surviving childbirth. We have one of the world's highest homicide rates for a developed nation. We have higher traffic fatality rates than 37 other countries, higher suicide rates than 80 other countries. We rank 32nd in preventing early marriage, 38th in the equality of our education system, 49th in high school enrollment rates, and 87th in cell phone use. We're number 49. We're number 87, right? So what Michael Lind writes is, in practice, he talks about, you know, American exceptionalism. And that we're a special nation uniquely founded on high ideals like freedom and equality. But in practice, he says, much of what sets the United States apart from other countries today is actually Southern exceptionalism. Now, listen to this in the context of my question. Should we, A, reoccupy the South with Union forces and restart Reconstruction, which came to a screeching halt in 1870, whatever it was, 74, I think, the election of Rutherford B. Hayes. He needed one vote in the House of Representatives to win. It was one of those contested elections that went to the House. And the deal he made with the Southern legislators was that if he became president, he would pull the Union troops out of the South and basically end Reconstruction. 1876. Thank you, Trey. So, you know, should we, A, restart Reconstruction? Or B, just let the South go their own way? Let the Confederate States say, you can fly that flag, you can have your own country. Good luck. Now, I know many of you live in the South, and that may not sound real exciting to you. Maybe the North should, although I think that, you know, if the South seceded, then a lot of people would move to the North, and people like Donald Trump could move to Miami or down to the South. But anyhow, here's what he's saying. We have higher violence, we have lower social mobility than, for example, the other English-speaking countries, Britain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. We don't have a national health care system like they all do. We don't have a good retirement program like they all do. You know, we have... You know, we're a wreck compared to these countries. Why? Because of the South. Basically, if you take the southern states out of the measurement, if you take all of the former Confederacy out of the measurement, then the United States actually stacks up pretty well. He said the South really is different from the rest of the country. Today, there is more intergenerational social mobility than in Europe than in the United States, contrary to the American myth that we're still number one as the land of opportunity. And children are far less likely to rise above their socioeconomic levels of their parents in the United States than are those in Britain, Canada, and Australia, as well as Germany, France, and the Nordic nations. The American South, with the lowest rates of intergenerational social mobility in the United States, clearly skews the national statistics, creating an embarrassing and depressing version of American exceptionalism. Income inequality? He says, apart from California and New York, which is Wall Street and Hollywood and Silicon Valley, the South is the region with the greatest income inequality. Southern exceptionalism has helped to ensure that the American dream is more likely to be realized in Europe than in the United States, in the old world rather than the new, he writes. He says, Britain peacefully abolished slavery within its empire in the 1830s. Thanks to Southern opposition, the U.S. only did so as a result of a catastrophic civil war. And thanks to mid-century Southern members of Congress, welfare state policies from home ownership to Social Security were designed to reinforce segregation or exclude the disproportionately Southern black poor and white poor. Not until the 1960s, with the help of federal military intervention in Southern states, was the right of African Americans to vote secured. And today, white Republicans are at the forefront in the South of efforts to roll back voting rights by making voter registration more difficult. Meanwhile, this from politicsthatwork.com. Lifespans differ dramatically from state to state. Here are the highest lifespans in the United States: New York, Hawaii, Minnesota, California, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Colorado, Wisconsin, and Rhode Island. These are all blue states. Here are the lowest life expectancies in the United States. And we're talking about, 6.5 years less life. North Carolina, Indiana, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Alabama, West Virginia, Mississippi. All except Indiana and West Virginia were former slave states. An amazing piece, by the way, over at TPM. I'll get to this when we come back on the other end, on the other side of this break. Going back to an article that was in Ebony magazine in the spring of 1955 that takes us back to the South.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
So the question for this hour is, what should we do about the South? They're screwing up our country. Oh, it's not all of the South, obviously, but you get it.